Good morning, everybody. I am here to talk Tao of the day. I'm just starting my computer right now, so I had to restart it. It was doing some weird stuff. So, if you have a number between 1 and 81, why don't you step on up and join me? I will utilize as I am updating my computer. I will utilize the hardcover copy that I have of Stephen Mitchell's Tao Te Ching. So the Tao Te Ching translates to the canon of reason. If you have not joined me before, I ask you to pick a number between 1 and 81, and then we read that verse of the Tao. And from there, we talk about how it relates, and we go through it line by line. We talk about how it might relate to you and what's going on in your life right now. The Tao is just a beautiful text that has 81 chapters. So if you come and pick a number between 1 and 81, we will find that chapter and we will read that together. And from there, we will talk about how that relates. So if anybody has any number kind of calling to them at the moment, I would love to share with you. So yeah, I'm going to take a pause really quick and see if I have anybody wanting to come on before I pick a number, which I will do shortly. So what do I have? I have 21 years clean and sober, and a large part of that and of my understanding of recovery and my understanding and at the basis of all of my recover yourself work, and my recover yourself work revolves around this concept of you need to recover who you are, who you truly are, not who you think you are, who you were when you were living under the influence of other people, places, ideas, or cultures or whatnot. We're all unique, and in order to you know better the planet, better our communities and everything, we all need to be able to recover who we are in that unique sense. And the Tao Te Ching is a text that helps us do that. The Tao allows us the space to feel what we're feeling without judgment, and to be where we're at without judgment. So, I mean, one of the great things that my work does that I'm really proud of is it helps it helps individuals look at and be aware of um, thought patterns that are happening underneath that are controlling your life. And when you can look at the Tao, you get this experience of you get to have this experience of like, who am I, right? And so that is what I'm here to help present as something that help. I don't know if that's the word I want to use, but that's what I'm here to present in the Tao of the day. So I'm going to go ahead and pick a number this morning so that we can just get started. Um, and I'm going to pick 25, and 25 states, there was something formless and perfect before the universe was born. It is serene, empty, solitary, unchanging, infinite, eternally present. It is the mother of the universe. For lack of a better name, I call it the Tao. It flows through all things, inside and outside. It returns to the origin of all things. The Tao is great. The universe is great. The earth is great. Man is great. These are the four great powers. Man follows the earth follows the universe follows the Tao follows only itself. So what we're seeing here is really interesting because, I think that, when so many chapters of the Tao talk about when man loses touch with the Tao, the sky becomes polluted, right? And the earth becomes depleted. And I think that is when man tries to put himself in front of the Tao and starts to try and control the earth. And so, like, that is what comes to mind when I'm reading 25. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to read this through section by section. And fairly quickly. So if anybody wants to jump in, we can always come back to 25. and read it through. This is just my Tao for the day and what I want to, the number that came to me. There was something formless and perfect before the universe was born. Before we started talking about this, I was talking about this idea of I want to help my clients recover themselves, right? Like, and that related back to I want my clients to be able to identify thought patterns that are keeping them from being themselves. And what is their selves? Well, that is that formless, perfect thing that existed before they were born. Right? You were formless and perfect before you were born. And now, that doesn't mean you're not perfect now. You're still in touch with that perfection. But having grown up and been influenced by so many things around you, other people, other institutions, other ideas, well, you have given up some of your perfection. And we give up some of our perfection throughout our life. And that's why I work so heavily on trying to help people recover themselves, that concept of recovering yourself. And when we talk about recovering ourselves, what we're really talking about is identifying those ideas that are not yourself, identifying those ideas that are keeping you from being yourself, even if you stand firmly in the idea that these ideas are making you who you are. It's very often that ideas in any fashion and preference in any fashion really kind of keep us from being who we can be and keeping us from being that perfect us that existed before we were born. So that is what is here, right? This is that first line of 25. There is something formless and perfect before the universe was born. And then it goes through this sort of group of six, I think, six things. It is serene, empty, solitary, unchanging, infinite, eternally present. And these are the things that you are. You are these things always as well. You are serene, you are empty, you are solitary, you are unchanging, you are infinite, and you are eternally present. Now unchanging, I want to recognize that there is a physical form that all of these things you are not, but there is a deep form, that thing that existed before you were born. That is all of these things. And so when you look inside of yourself and you find these things, right, you find solitary, you find emptiness, you find infinite, you find the eternally present. Once you find those things, you will be in touch with who you are, right? Much more than when you look at how much money do I have, or how much stuff do I have, or where's my new boyfriend going to come from, or where's my new, like, where's my new whatever, my shiny new things. Because those things are not serene. Those things are full of things. They're not empty. They're solitary, right? This is the difference. I mean, I'm reading a book right now, Force versus Power, right? Like, the things that are serene, empty, solitary, unchanging, those are things that are powerful, versus things that are full, things that require a group. Those are things that force yourself into those situations, and they force their ideas upon you. Thus, when you have ideas, you are not really in touch with the universal you that is who you are, right? It's not the formless, perfect you that is there. It is the mother of the universe. Okay, so it is the mother of the universe. That just means it is where the universe was birthed, right? So when we look at that term, it is the mother of the universe. What we're saying is like, oh well, the universe was birthed from here, um, and just like your mother birthed you, without the mother you wouldn't be here, and without this mother the universe wouldn't be here. So you know Cartesians, most people are Cartesians, the whole I think therefore I am sort of thing. Most people are Cartesians, but really he was way off base, because he is stating, because he has form, and he is because he has form. But really, the being, the I am, comes before the form. And that's what's being stated here, right? It's just essentially saying Descartes was wrong, right? And this was written in 600 BC. So this was written well before Descartes. but it's important that, like your average person on the street is a Cartesian, right? They're like, yes, the soul exists within me, and it's my, will, and I get to think, and all of these things. But really, what the Tao is saying, what I believe, and I think the direction of consciousness is, no, 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 consciousness existed first, so you are, therefore you can be, rather than I think, therefore I am. Like, you are before you can think, right? And that is because form follows consciousness. Consciousness does not follow form. So yeah, so that's what this is saying, and that's the mother, like, it is the mother of the universe. That's what that line is stating. And before that, let's not forget that we are talking about, there was something formless and perfect before the universe was born, right? And that was the mother of the universe, and so that is consciousness, right? That's what we're talking about here. So and within you, there is something formless and perfect, and that existed before you were born. And that is, in the parlance that I use when we talk about recovering yourself, that is the self that we're looking to recover. In your mind, the thinking part of your mind, you may associate yourself with all sorts of things. You may associate yourself with things on the outside of you, and that is the form, right? That is not the formless perfect you. That is, oh, in order for me to be valued, I have to go to school, and I have to do well in school, and then I have to get a job, and I have to do well at my job, and I have to climb this ladder, and I have to do all these things, and I have to have a family, and and it has to be nice, and like, I have to have a good relationship with my wife and my husband, all of these things, right? Like, those are not the perfect you. Those are ideas that you picked up that are swimming around in your life and dictating your life in a certain way. And if you have any discomfort in your life, if you have any sort of like reservations about your life, if you're like, I think there's more, well, it's probably because you're not embracing this formless perfect thing that you are, and exists today, but was also there before you were born. So and then, whatever that is what this next line kind of references. The next line states, for lack of a better name, I call it the Tao. So, right, so there is no better name. You just call it anything. You can call it Chuckles, right? Like, it doesn't matter what you call it, because um, the Tao also states this idea, like, if you can explain it, that's not it. So no matter what you call it, it doesn't really matter, because you're not going to be able to grasp it anyway, right? Because there's something formless and perfect before the universe was born, is how this 25 starts. And if you were just joining me and are intrigued by what's being said, this is Tao of the Day. The Tao Te Ching is an ancient text written in 600 BC, 81 verses. I'm reading chapter 25 for myself. If you have a number between 1 and 81 that you would like to read with me, I would be happy to share the Tao Te Ching with you. And then, we'll read it through, get your initial ideas, and then we'll go through it line by line. I'm currently going through 25 line by line, and we just finished a line that said, for lack of a better name, I call it the Tao. What do we call the Tao? Ultimately, what we're calling the Tao is the mother of the universe, the thing that birthed the universe. And this chapter starts with this line that states, there was something formless and perfect before the universe was born. It is the mother of the universe. For lack of a better name, I call it the Tao. I skipped a couple lines in there just for clarity's sake, but it flows through all things inside and out, and returns to the origin of all things. So the mother of the Tao, flows through all things inside and out. So you are imbued with the Tao, and you are embodied by the Tao. Right? So both of these things, right? Within you and without of you and outside of you is the Tao, is this mother of the Tao. It is not, maybe that is what it's saying. I call it the Tao. Yeah, it is the Tao. The mother of the universe is the Tao, and it flows through all things inside and out. So once again, you are imbued with and embodied by the Tao, and it returns to the origin of all things. It returns to the origin of all things. The interesting thing here for me in this line is what is that referencing? It returns. So it embodies, it flows through all things inside and out and returns to the origin of all things. Huh. So that's an intriguing line, and I'm not sure how to reference it. So the Tao returns to the origin of all things. The Tao, if I'm understanding this chapter correctly, the Tao is the origin of all things, but it's saying it returns to the origin of all things. So that's spatial. It seems. So it's an interesting thing. I want to continue reading to see, so I don't get too sidetracked by that. But let's just kind of suffice it to say for the moment that it flows through all things inside and out, and it embodies all things all the way back to the origin of things. Let's just utilize that sort of definition right now, and then we'll move on to the Tao is great. The universe is great. The earth is great. Man is great. These are the four great powers. I don't know if you guys follow chakra work or any sort of like energy healing, but there are energy centers. Those are those main energy centers, the big main energy centers, your heart, the earth, and the universe, right? So if you, and these are the three great powers, right? But here we're saying that man, earth, universe, Tao is a great power. These are great powers. These are forces in which things are birthed. These are forces in which are creators, right? And when it says man is great, I just think they mean like life is great, right? But if they used life, then they would be separating life from Earth, and the planet is, in not scientifically, but it is alive because it is made of living things, and it supports life, and it is a place of resource and rejuvenation and all of that. And so, and each cell that makes up this planet is alive, right? It is moving. It is part of, and they do multiply. They do, but they don't. Like in there is life within the planet as the planet, and there is life i- the planet. Interesting, like the earth is a structure. Tao is a structure, so these are masculine. When I say structure, I often refer to it as masculine. The Tao definitely is, when we think of the Tao, we think of it as a structure, but it is a place that yields. When we think of the universe, we think of a structure, but it again is a place that yields. The earth, same thing, structure, but it yields. Man, structure, but yields. All of these things hold both of these masculine and feminine qualities. So that's an interesting sort of take. I'm going to return to this line, and returns to the source of all things, to the origin of all things. Still no real light bulb for me there. If you see any kind of connection that I'm missing, please chime in. These are the great four powers. So the Tao, the universe, the earth, and man. We hold all of the qualities of creation, right? We hold the masculine side, we hold the feminine side, we hold the power, we hold the structure, and we hold the space that the structure is worked within. The Tao is an interesting one because the Tao, I don't think, has a structure. The Tao, because it is the mother of the universe, and the universe is the first structure that is made. It is the first son. It is the firstborn of the Tao, and so that creates a structure. And within that structure, things can yield. I think the Tao is simply yielding. So there is no structure there. So when we kind of pile these on top of one another, we have this great mother, and then we have the universe, which is a masculine withholding with the feminine within. The earth is a masculine holding the feminine within. Man is the masculine holding the feminine within. When I say man, once again, I just mean life on the planet that the earth has yielded to. Um, so that's animals, that's men and women. It doesn't like, but within us we yield, right? The yielding comes within us. It's not something that's a structure. When I look at the Tao, I think of the masculine as the structure, so the walls and the ceilings and the floors within a house, but the feminine is the space within it that yields so that you can put stuff there, right? And you can live within it. You can have that experience. So man follows the earth. So we follow the earth, and this is the best way that we can live if we follow the earth, meaning that the earth is a structure and we follow through it and we exist and we live our life with the earth yielding to us. And but if we can't deplete it, of course, like, because that would be trying to stamp our authority on the earth, right? That would be if when we deplete the earth and when we do all those things to pull the resources out of the earth, what ends up happening is we are not following it, but we're trying to control the earth, right? We're trying to pull what we want out of the earth. The earth follows the universe, and in its never-ending cycle of in its orbit, in its rotation, it is following the will of the universe. As the universe expands, it expands with it, right? There's expansion happening, and we're continually moving further and further from the center of the universe. Oh, Catherine. And then it wraps up: the universe follows the Tao. The Tao follows it only itself. How you doing, Catherine?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Just running through number 25.
Oh, well, yeah, I heard you trying to finish it. Do you want to finish it?
No, I just did, more or
All
less. I
right.
mean, I always come back.
I was coming back. 33.
33. I love that. 30. I love the double numbers. I think we
I
just
thought it was
wrapped.
32, but then 33 was like 33. I was like, all right, man. Whew. I'm
Okay.
have
Well,
to yell.
yeah. Knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power. If you realize that you have enough, you are truly rich. If you stay in the center and embrace death with your whole heart, you will endure forever.
Ooh. Is that what you want me to do? Is that it?
That's it.
Ooh, I like that one. I'll do
Yeah,
it.
I'm gonna go ahead and read
Ooh.
it through again because it is so short.
Yeah.
Knowing others is intelligence, but knowing yourself is true wisdom. Mastering others is strength, but mastering yourself is true power. If you realize that you have enough, you are truly rich. If you stay in the center and embrace death with your whole heart, you will endure forever. What are your initial thoughts?
I have a lot, obviously, because this is a really good one.
Yeah.
Wow, this is a really, really good. I mean, there's so many directions you can go with this one. The first one is that this is probably the best way that I can describe when you lean completely into freedom, when you let go of the reins completely. This is intuition. When you let go completely and let intuition 100% be your guide.
Right, right. Yeah, because like so many people try to understand other people, try to master other people, right? Like knowing others is intelligence, and we have really done well in this arena. What we have done is like put people through school and get like understand people, and then you can market to them. Understand people, and you can try them as a judge. Understand people, and you can be a police officer. Understand people, and all of these things, and this is like intelligence and strength, both of which can ultimately fail you at some point. Um, but knowing yourself and mastering yourself, those are the things, like those are that first section. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Mastering yourself is true power.
Yeah, and if you think of others, knowing others, that is also the way others do things. You know, how a lot of people like, I studied how everyone else does this and how they're successful, and this is what I came up with. You know, you can study how other people do things all day long, every day of your life, but unless you find your own unique way within that,
Or not within that.
then
Like you can find it outside of that.
but still, I mean, it's helpful to get tips on how to ride a bike from someone or watch someone to ride a bike before you try to ride a bike. Like if
Yes.
you've never seen a bicycle before in your entire life, it's helpful to see at least see someone riding a bike. So you take the tips from that is what I mean. Not
Yeah.
necessarily having to copy, but and then you have your own little unique style. Maybe that's when you start learning how to, you know, put your feet on the handlebars or, whatever it is.
Right.
But seeing how other people do things and the study of that gives you kind of tips on opening up eyes. Ooh, I can do this.
Right. Right. Yeah.
It's kind of
And
like how I do recipes. I look at the picture, I scan over the ingredients, go, I can make that, and then I close it.
right. Yeah. It's like it's and here, like we are talking about the Tao. This was written a long, long time ago. But
Mm-hmm.
and so when we start looking at this, we look at look at the but it was also translated in the 80s. So knowing others is intelligence. And knowing others' ideas, knowing other people, but knowing yourself is true wisdom, meaning
Yep.
like I see that as being like, oh, well, I know people. Like my sister is a person that knows how to manipulate
Mm-hmm.
other people and stuff, but she doesn't realize that she has no true knowledge of herself.
Yep.
And in that, like, she can work within a system as long as the system doesn't change ever.
Yes.
And systems always change. But when you know yourself, you're always able to just
Find your unique path.
adjust.
Yeah, find your unique path.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And mastering others is strength. That's like police and other things like that,
Yes.
and government and
Yes.
military, whatever. Like mastering others, like even some workplaces, like Amazon, like like they want to like make sure that you feel a certain way. I remember hearing from someone who worked at Amazon, like their manager would come up to them, and not in a not in a fulfillment center, but corporate manager would come up and say, oh, like on Friday at like 4:30, they would come up and go, oh, you know what, like I would really love to have you check this out, do this sort of task. And they go, yeah, 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 sure, no problem. And then Monday morning, like 9 a.m., they would walk by their desk with their coffee. Oh, did you get anything? Did you get that for me? Like there's literally 30 minutes in the work world that
Right.
that between you asking me and now, but there were 2 days, like because it was a weekend. And
Right.
so what ends up happening is in your mind, you start having this experience of, oh, I'm supposed to work on the weekends.
But not supposed to because you're also not supposed to do that. You're
Right.
supposed to how to figure out how to work within that. Yeah, I definitely came that direction with it too. I mean, it's to me, I got that fear. You make people your strength is creating fear and uneasiness and pulling the rug out from underneath anyone. So same idea as what I got from that one.
Yeah. And that's a, like that's a, and it's interesting because that creates, like that does create a space of weakness, right? Like you are trying to make people feel weak and make people feel inadequate and
Yep.
whatnot. But when you master yourself, and when you can kind of like, I don't worry about getting pulled over. I don't worry, like I drive, I speed, and but I'm not living my life from a place of
Fear.
yeah, from a place of fear, and I'm not living I'm not living in a place where I feel like I am being lorded over. Now that has a lot to do with the fact that I'm intelligent and I'm white and I'm like, whatever, like all of these things.
Or
But
that you don't currently live in Australia right now or
yeah,
Austria.
yeah, like so there's all of these things where, like when you master yourself, you're also not under anybody else. You know, you're not living your life. You're not living your life in a space in which you are living under the influence of other people and ideas.
And that there's a difference with awareness. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, I I'm very aware that, walking in a dark parking lot is not the safest thing for me to do
Hmm.
as a woman. you know so there's that awareness too of structure and rules, and where fear fits in, strength and awareness. And so, having knowing yourself, being able to walk in full confidence and awareness gives you the strength not to be in fear.
Right. Yeah. And I think also like the mastering yourself also is taking into consideration that walking in a dark parking lot can initiate fear because of old experiences and old ideas, and then we can
Well, I mean,
go on.
let's be truthful, that is not very safe for a woman to do.
No, 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 no. Absolutely, absolutely. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to say. I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
trying to say it's not. It's not. It's not. But
Yeah.
there are conditions where that experience is has been had in our collective consciousness, right? Like
Okay.
that,
Yeah.
and I'm not trying to
Collective.
say,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not trying to initiate anything that says like that's not
No,
safe,
no.
but
The
yeah,
clarity of collective consciousness, I think that brings the clarity to the
yeah,
conversation. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so, but no, it's not safe, and uh, but it's not without all of that. It's not intrinsically dangerous to be in a place that's dark, right? Like it is
Mhm.
it that is learned on both sides of the as from the victim to the oppressor. Like that is a space where those sorts of like where unsafeness kind of resides, you
Just
know.
easier to hide.
Yeah. So if you realize that you have enough, you are truly rich. That's pretty self-explanatory, I think. I don't think there's anything mysterious about that.
Well, I don't know. I think there is a little mystery in that.
Talk to me.
Because we get so obsessed in these goals and these, yearly, review of our life and where I want things better, the laws of attraction, this manifestation. It's this wanting of something more, wanting to have. And the truth is, until you can be happy with where you are, it's very difficult to be in a place of recognizing how it feels to be at the next level.
Yeah, I've been meditating a little bit recently on this idea of desire, and I'm just like recognizing my desire more, right? Like not that I have more desire, but just being like, okay, let me honestly look at how much I desire what
Hmm.
I desire, right? Like because that may be putting me in a place of not being able to trust my intuition, or not being able, because like I have this desire within me. And I think that recognizing and coming to grips with, or at least being able to speak what my desires are, and say, okay, I have a desire for this, and that's okay. Let
Yeah.
me let me let me look at that desire and see where it might be at odds with other places in my life, other things that are going on, or whatever, or the
Or,
things that I want.
yeah. Or is it also, when I think is there somewhere within me that feels like it's impossible, or there's something about it that's not quite right?
Right. Where in my life is it not aligned is really
Hmm.
is really what I've been looking at recently. And I know that like if you realize you have enough, you are truly rich. And I know like as as days go by, and I continue to embrace like the wisdom community, and I continue to embrace my message, and I did a workshop yesterday. It was fucking spectacular. And all of these things, like I have enough and I know that, and yet somewhere in me, it's still not enough. Right. Like, and
Mhm.
so it is this thing. And so, yeah, there is a little, there's, but I do understand that if I realize deeply within me that I have enough, I'm truly rich.
Mhm.
It, if you stay in the center and it's embrace death with your whole heart, you will endure forever.
The most dangerous person, they say, is the one who has nothing to lose. Why is that? Because they have embraced the center.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
not,
Completely.
you know,
They're not afraid.
yeah, thoughts aren't running them, you know, emotions aren't running them. They're just riding that middle line. They're just like on the line of alignment in such a way that nothing can throw them off. And that's when people say they have nothing to lose. And, you know, that was a big thing. A lot of my opportunities I got because I went into it with like, I got nothing to lose. Who cares?
Right.
You know, a lot of the speaking things I got, it was, I filled in for people who were too afraid.
Mm-hmm.
I know I
Yeah.
filled in for a senator who was too afraid to take a thing where she was debating another senator. And she was
Mm.
afraid that she wouldn't do well because then it would hurt her ability to continue to get elected.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Will you do it?" And I was like, "Who cares? I don't have a plan to run for office. Sure, whatever." You know? I'm like, it's like I'm like, it's not going to have any effect on my career. Why could I care?
That's
So
right. Thank you so much, Catherine. I really appreciate you always coming on. 33 Beautiful. We're going to bring Kelly Swenson on. Kelly Swenson is fast becoming one of my faves. What's going on, girl?
Was
Hello.
looking at it. Nothing. Nothing. Nothing's going on. Absolutely nothing.
Oh, well, okay. Well, that's good. Congrats. I wanna let everybody know. Kelly is reading the Neverending Story
Mm,
here on Wisdom. So keep an eye out, follow her, check it out. Wonderful, like, story time.
thanks. Thank you. I'm so excited. I'm actually looking forward to this. Like, yes, what time should I do it? What time should be the regular time? Should it be a regular? I'm like, I've thought about it like since yesterday. It's fun. And I didn't read ahead, which was really hard.
I
So we're
bet, I
gonna do
bet.
this
Because you're like,
together.
I could read, but no, I want to read it with my people.
I know it's a unique experience.
Yeah.
Should I pick a number?
Yes, please.
All right. It's through 51. Is that right?
51? No, it's through
It's no,
81.
no. 81. Oh, okay. Um, 64.
It's funny, as you were picking that number, I was like, it's going to be in the 60s.
I was gonna say 63, and I went for 4. I'm like, no, 4. It's 4.
You want 64?
Yep.
63 has never been picked before, so that's why.
Mm,
But we'll go with 64.
next time, because I've already said 4, but I
Yeah.
next time.
What? Oh, this is a good one. I haven't read this one in quite a while. What is rooted is easy to nourish. What is recent is easy to correct. What is brittle is easy to break. What is small is easy to scatter. Prevent trouble before it arises. Put things in order before they exist. The giant pine tree grows from a tiny sprout. The journey of 1,000 miles starts from beneath your feet. Rushing into action, you fail. Trying to grasp things, you lose them. Forcing a project to completion, you ruin what was almost ripe. Therefore, the master takes action by letting things take their course. He remains as calm at the end as at the beginning. He has nothing, thus he has nothing to lose. We just talked about that with Catherine. What he desires is non-desire. What he learns is to unlearn. He simply reminds people of who they have always been. He cares about nothing but the Tao. Thus, he can care for all things.
So it's beautiful that this is my number. I knew it was right because earlier when I dropped off my first daughter, I think it was when you first came on, but I don't know if it was. I thought about the yin and the yang, and I was like, basically, like life is just, like what's the meaning of life? People used to ask this, and it's just you can look around you and know the answer. It's the literally the tide. It's the breath. It's the creation. The first time you divided cells, like it's the flow. It's the ebb and the flow, and like that's what I heard in this. It's like because I was thinking, what's like how much do we persist to how much do we allow in? Like we can stand strong, but too strong is too strong. Allowing too much in is allowing too much in. Like it has to be that beautiful big dance. And that's everything in this Tao. It's this description of um, existence, really.
Yeah.
That's,
I agree. I think this is also poignant because you are just starting this journey with reading the Neverending Story. Like this idea, therefore the master takes action by letting things take their course. He remains as
mm,
calm in the beginning as at the beginning. He remains as calm at the end as at the beginning. He has nothing, thus he has nothing to lose. What he desires is non-desire. What he learns is to unlearn. And I think that really looks at really kind of closely this idea of starting a new project without expectation and just kind of being present with that. And like you were saying, like it was hard for me to not read it, but like that's what I'm going to do.
mm-hmm.
And I think that resonates with that as well. So let's go through this. Now the nice thing about this is it's all really sectioned. Like there's a lot of this where it's like, oh, tiny pine tree and a couple steps beneath your feet. Like so, there are these sections that we can look at rather than looking at it line by line because it is a little longer. But let's look at the top 4. What is easy to, which is what
So wait,
is
Martin
what's
John. But the thing is, this one is like an intertwined. Like these are like, you know what I mean? Like it's almost like this is a full circle.
yeah
I just want to
yeah.
throw that out there because it's like literally you could section it, but it literally is. It's like literally the beginning is the ending and the ending is the beginning too.
And I have found that in most of these, like that is the case. And
Mm,
that's why we go through it line by line so that at the end we return back to the beginning and say, and this is
true.
why, you know,
True. Yeah.
it's so beautiful. So we'll start with this, and
Hello?
so let's go
Oh.
ahead and read. Yeah. And let's go ahead and I just paused because I'm thinking really quick. Like I'm sorting some thoughts really quick. So I want to read the last line and then we'll read the first lines. And that might help us when we get back to the last line. So
I
he
literally
cares.
want to draw this out, by the way. I love this one.
He cares about nothing but the Tao. Thus he can care for all things. So he cares about nothing but the Tao. Thus he can care for all things. That's how it ends. Now we go to the beginning and he says, what is rooted is easy to nourish. What is recent is easy to correct. What is brittle is easy to break. What is small is easy to scatter.
Yes. I mean, it, it it's kind of like just saying that things are. It just is.
It's interesting. We have the first two, which are what would be considered positive, and the last one, things that may be considered negative.
No, scatter. That's how like things grow, like
Well, right,
seeds.
yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. And I'm not trying to put any kind of, well, I guess I just did put definitions
You
on these, but
did.
I did. But like I'm looking at it like what is rooted is easy to nourish, right? And once we get an idea, or like once you root something, then you can feed it water, right? Until it's rooted, it it
Like a
might be
habit.
right.
Yeah.
Like if you have a habit or if you have an addiction, you can nourish that addiction really easily by just because it's implanted in, like how to do that,
Hmm.
and like you do that regularly. What is recent is easy to correct. So once you start something, make sure that you're constantly like like I like this. I like this. What is recent is easy to correct, because if something starts growing off, like you have to say something. Like if it's a relationship, or if you're cooking and you forget like to add sugar, like put it in. Like
Hmm.
what you just start doing, it's easy to correct that. So if you just start going to school and you're like, oh, you know what, I didn't want to go into this major, let me change now, rather than, oh, let me stay here even though it might be a mistake, and stay here for a long time, invest more time, and now I can't get out.
Like the learning process, you can
Right.
just the fail so that you can succeed.
What is brittle is easy to break. So, I mean, I don't know about that one. That one always looks at, well, if you haven't nourished something, it's going to become brittle. Your thoughts?
I, I I don't know that breaking is bad. So
No,
like
I
if
don't
it's
either.
not a
Like it might be a
strong
habit.
habit, yeah. So if that's an easy example, but it could be anything, right? Like if it's not strong, if it's not solid, if it wasn't meant to be that way, or if it wasn't made well because it's not that the right thing, it wasn't the path or whatever. The purpose is though is that like then it's easy to break. So if it's not well done for whatever reason, then it's okay to just start anew, to take it back down, to break it, to start over, to break the habit as well though. Like it could be that you built a crappy house and it's brittle wood, and so you're like, crap, now I have to live in a crappy house that might crash on me. Or I'll break it and I'll start over because like
Right.
this one didn't work, and that's okay. That's accept that's okay. It's okay to not do it right the first time.
I love that I brought up addiction, because what is rooted is easy to nourish. If that is addiction, you have a deep addiction and you can nourish it really easily. Now, if you decide to stop nourishing it, like if you what is recent is easy to correct. So, oh, that's something that I don't want to nourish. I'm going to stop. I'm going to correct that not nourishing, and then it may become brittle, under which it is easy to break that habit, easy to break that. I mean, easy is relative, of course. And what is small is easy to scatter. And I look at that as seeds. But then I also look at that as like, like jacks, like playing jacks, like when you drop them, they,
Hmm.
they like move really far and you got to do it within one bounce.
Or ideas, or like small purposes. If you're not sure like what your purpose or like why you're doing something, so you're just like kind of like frantically like trying a bunch of things, then maybe your like intention can be easy to scatter.
Oh, that's beautiful. I like that. This is why I love the Tao and doing Tao of the day. We only have 5 minutes, so I would love, if we don't finish this, if you had the time to come back on, I would love to finish that. But I'm going to continue as quick as I can.
Mhm.
Prevent trouble before it arises. Put things in order before they exist. See, I like that, because like, even I know in my recover yourself work, when I work with people, like the idea is to sidestep or be able to avoid confrontation before it even starts. Not avoid it, but
Mm.
be able to not invite that into your life, right? Like you are just moving through in a natural course. And so, like, even though you can't like organize a box of things before the things are there in your life, you can, because time is not so linear.
Well, and I think don't plan ahead too much though. Like maybe just if you're mindful, if you're present in your right now, then you're I lost that train of thought for a second. Like if you read it again, but like
Prevent
it's
trouble
basically
before it arises.
yes. So for me, I feel like if you're paying attention, if you're being aware, if you're noticing, if you're mindful, if you're present, if you're walking in a dark alley and you're paying attention to the signs, or a forest and the birds suddenly start chirping and like, ooh, what does that mean? You know what I mean? Like you have to be present. But if you're just like checked out, if you're worrying, if you're in your head too much, then you're not aware of the car coming to hit you while you cross the street. Or so like preventing trouble before it arises, I think of like being present, not worrying, but just being present so that you can see something coming and then make a decision.
Yeah, I really love that. And I think that when you feel inside your body and when you're present in the moment, the answers are always there. Well
Yeah, your
before.
intuition tells you.
Yeah, like shout out to Catherine and her intuition talks. Like, yes, definitely. Like that
You know.
yeah, that's absolutely true. Yeah.
It's
So
easy, like when someone's like, I don't know what to do, or like, well, what about this if you're worrying? I forget till the time, but I'm always saying to people, like, just ask yourself. Like ask yourself
right.
what's true. And like it's like
Yeah.
right there.
The giant pine tree grows from a tiny seed. The journey of 1,000 miles starts from beneath your feet.
It just takes one drop of water. It just takes you to start something. Like it just takes a tiny seed to create the most big, magnificent, abundant, life-giving thing. Like it just takes something small to do something great.
This is an interesting one. I do have, like, Julie, I think you're listening, and I'm going to bring Kelly back on to finish this, but I know you're going to be taking a journey of 1,000 miles soon. And so, like, it's interesting that you're with us as well. Like this giant tree and the journey of 1,000 miles, is also connected. It's part of this verse that starts with prevent trouble before it arises, put things in order before they exist. And I think that, like, that planning to some extent, but planning in this way of like being present in the moment. And I think that's something that, Julie um is facing right now, in that idea of planning. Julie, like I said, I'll be with you shortly if you can stick around. So rushing into action, you fail. Trying to grasp things, you lose them. Forcing a project to completion, you ruin what was almost ripe.
End of the Neverending Story in the movie, he is like, these look like big, strong hands, the rock biter to Atreyu. And that I never forgot. I mean, the movie, everything sticks for me, but I can't wait for the book. But it's like that trying to grasp things. I feel, yeah, like if you hold on to money, you're losing, you're not keeping it, you're not actually gaining, like you have to let it flow through you in order to truly experience it.
Yeah. And I like this: rushing into action, you fail. Trying to grasp things, you lose them. Forcing a project to completion, you ruin what was almost ripe. Like, we get
The
impatient.
last one.
Yeah, we get impatient, like I love the fact that, like, yesterday you did a room and was like, should I do this? And then you just did it. You just did it. Like now you've started something that you can, the interesting thing here is, like, what is recent is easy to correct. If you do something and, like, decide I'm going to do it just randomly, and then decide, oh no, you know what, I'm going to do it on certain days or whatever, it doesn't matter. Like, it's recent, it's just here now. What is brittle,
Mm-hmm.
and so all of this, and there's no reason to get to the end. You don't have to finish today. You don't have to, like, even though there is a goal in mind, there's no need to get to the end, to get to the finish line. You are enjoying the journey and letting this whole experience ripen.
The brittle part again. It's like if you weren't truly in it, if your heart wasn't truly in it, then it was brittle. It was built brittle. So like
Right.
it's going to crush, it's going to collapse, it's going to break because like it wasn't what you really wanted, even relationships or like destinations, purposes, lives, jobs, careers, like
Yeah. And I keep thinking, I mean, you're reading Neverending Story now, and I read the Tao every day, and I love this. Like, it's like I look forward to doing the Tao of the day. I don't do it on weekends, and sometimes I'm like, I'm gonna do it anyway.
who
you know,
cares? Let's go.
yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I'm just gonna offer that because I love doing it because it's so fun, and it's something that I've been doing for well over a decade, like on different social media platforms and stuff. So it's
You know,
definitely something that I love.
people that often who don't meditate don't even like it's so frustrating for them to start. They have these expectations. And even this can be meditative because it causes you to pause and get out of your own head and out of your own struggle and like think, explain it in a different way and just be present with, listening
What
to
is?
that or thinking. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just what is. Therefore, the master takes action by letting things take their course.
Yes.
Yes, he remains as calm at the end as at the beginning. And I love that. I love that. I love that idea of like, I don't have to celebrate finishing. I can just step into it.
Because of course. But of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because like that's where I was going.
But of
You know,
course.
he has nothing, thus has nothing to lose.
Yes. It's not ours.
It's not
It's not
ours.
yours.
It's
It
not,
never was.
and I think I was talking with Catherine about this idea that I have these desires, right? And I think sometimes my ego gets in the way that they're my ideas, but they're not. They're just ideas that I am experiencing and I am
Mm,
presenting.
I struggle with that one too.
Um,
Dang it. That's a tough one.
yeah.
I was digging into imposter syndrome a little bit in my mind today too. Just spiritual imposter syndrome because darn if I don't just like yeah. People we really I hear a lot, especially because I come and wandering around in here and I'm doing other things so much. And like, people just a lot of telling people what to do, a lot of just like
Yes.
do this and like these steps. And it's like, it's not YouTube, A. But like B, it's also like I I I don't it creates imposter syndrome in me when everyone's like, just do this and this is how you this. And I'm like, no, like I'm struggling right now. Like this is hard right now. I'm unhappy right now, or I'm happy right now, whatever it is like
Yeah.
that I'm facing. And I don't want to just do this to get that. Like I know I need to take steps, but sometimes I just want to be like present or like feel like like I'm not wrong, like
No.
I'm not
No.
wrong. And that's where like when you hear everybody going like, it's okay, I'm gonna motivate you. It's like I'm
Yeah.
also
Fucking shitty
not wrong
coaches
for
out there
feeling how
telling
I
you.
feel. Yeah, I'm also
Fucking
not wrong
shitty
for
coaches telling you like, like I'm here to tell you what to do what I want you to do because I'm insecure.
hold space. Yeah, be
Yeah.
freaking present for your humans.
Yeah,
But
that's right.
but that's
Just
that
just just
imposter
just
syndrome,
shut your mouth. Just shut your mouth, please.
Maybe that's and then some people they really just want to be told what to do and they're really good at following instructions.
Yeah,
Me,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
more existential crisis everything in my life all the time, so it's like
Yeah.
I'm constantly and it's so the spiritual imposter syndrome comes in for me a lot because I'm like am I not this or am I that or like am I not supposed to feel this way or am I supposed to be you know what I mean? Because you're hearing like sometimes I just like to know like yeah, that person's doing really great but they're still having a hard time. Like
That's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Doesn't
yeah,
matter
I
like
want to know about your hard time too. Like
right. I'm doing great. Like all in all, I am doing fucking great. And yet having a hard time sometimes. Like
yeah,
2 months like a month ago, I was in tears like 3 times a day and I couldn't, like I didn't have any motivation. And now like I'm not like I'm so much better and I'm like still here doing my thing and it's all
it
right
doesn't
and
mean
it's
you don't rock it. Yeah, you're
that's
still
right.
rocking it. Like
Absolutely.
you're still
Yeah.
capable. You're still like successful. You're still great at what you do, but you're still gonna have crappy days. And like I relate to those crappy days as well as like your good ones.
And then we have what he desires is non desire. What he learns is to unlearn. And unlearning, like the learning, I always tell people, like, I don't care what you were taught. What did you learn? A lot of people want to talk about, I was taught this by my parents. I was taught this by my society. I was taught this, taught this, taught this. I was like, I was taught chemistry, never learned it. So it doesn't matter to me. Like,
Mm.
what's important is what you learned. And I'm always trying to find the things that I have learned that are not true and unlearn those things. One of
Oh
the things,
gosh.
go
Yeah.
on.
No, I just agree. Unlearning is part of life. Yeah.
Yes,
Like
yeah.
you gotta go back.
He simply reminds people of what they have always been. He cares about nothing but the Tao, thus he can care about all things.
Yeah. Because that's love.
That's love. I love this because, we were talking about it being a loop, and I'm going back to the beginning and like this concept of prevent trouble before it arises. Prevent trouble before it arises. Put things in order before they exist. when you care only about the Tao, and, like I had a conversation yesterday with someone who was, probably early in their recovery, if they weren't high at the time that we were talking. I don't know, this guy, David.
Mhm.
And, I just expressed, I was like, I love you. And I see that you're not thinking clearly. And I just want you to know that you might not be able to trust your brain at this moment,
Mm.
and this is why we're here, and I love him and I wish him the best, and I'm not going to do anything that is going to try and infringe or tell him what's right or wrong, but I just want him to understand that, I at that moment felt like I could care for him, but I also couldn't do anymore.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
and that was something that, like I wanted, like, this just brings that up for me, this idea that, like, I don't care about your body. Your body may, and your life may deteriorate from here, but I'm here for you and I care for you, but in a way that you allow, and in the only way that you can allow it. If you can't hear me, I can't do anything. And we had so many people come on after he went on to offer him support as well. Like, this is such a beautiful community of people who care about
Mm.
the whole. And, yes, we care about David as an individual, but there's only so much that we can do
Like,
unless we
there
can
is,
care
of
for all
course,
things.
only so much we could do, of course.
Right.
And that's just the part about community, because if we all just do something, that's a
That's
lot.
right. That's a lot. Yeah. And even if we're just quietly loving him, that's all we can do.
You
Kelly, thank you
can.
so much.
Yeah. Oh,
Thank you so
gosh.
much.
Thank you. This is fun. I
Absolutely.
enjoy. Glad you came
Well,
on during my time zone today.
yeah, I took I followed my intuition, and instead of coming on first, I took my 5 mile walk first because it was like 23 degrees out. I was like, oh my God, it's so nice. I'm gonna go for a walk.
That
Yeah,
does
you're in
sound
Arizona. I'm in
lovely.
Chicago.
That
In
sounds
Chicago, 23 in
lovely.
December is good, or January.
That's
All right, I'm
hilarious.
gonna bring
Talk
Julie
to
on
you
if
later.
she's still.
Enjoy.
We'll talk soon.
Bye bye.
Okay. If Julie is still here, we are going to read the Tao together. Man, what a good one. Julie, how are you?
Turn your microphone on or off. Okay. Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Wonderful. That's great. You're on the big one today. You're on the iPad.
Oh,
So I
I
can
only
see
have an
even more.
iPad. Like, I
Oh,
think because I'm an Android guy,
yeah.
I in order to use Wisdom, I got an iPad, like a used iPad from my sister, because I've never had an Apple product.
Right.
And this is my first and only Apple product, and I don't have I can't take it out with me, so I'm always doing this from, like, from a Wi-Fi spot.
Yeah.
So it's nice not to have it with me all the time.
It's cool. It's like opening a book, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
like,
it's
oh,
like, oh, well,
I'll
look, let's see what
get
this
my
is.
I'll get my special thing out.
Yeah, it's nice. So, do
How
you
are
have a
you?
number for me?
I have. Today's number is 56.
56. Off we go. Okay. Oh, we were talking recently about you and your daughter and all these other things and Millie and stuff, and I think this one might ring this one might be related to some of that kind of stuff. So, those who know don't talk. Those who talk don't know. Close your mouth. Block your senses. Blunt your sharpness. Untie your knots. Soften your glare. Settle your dust. This is the primal identity. Be like the Tao. It can't be approached or withdrawn from, benefited or harmed, honored or brought into disgrace. It gives itself up continually. That is why it endures.
How good is that?
Yeah.
That is a definite lesson there.
So what
Yeah.
what are some of the things that just jump out at you?
I think basically just being, and being with yourself, and being yourself will shine for you. So you don't have to speak, you don't have to put effort in any way. You are just being you, and that will shine. That's basically what I'm getting from that. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, there's it's interesting because like there's this whole thing in the middle with all the individual things, like close your mouth, block off your senses, blunt your sharpness, untie your knots, soften your glare, settle your dust. And when we go through this line by line, I want to definitely look at what the opposites of
Do
those
it.
are. Because the
Do it.
opposites of those, I think, are all the things that we do to engage our ego and to
Yeah.
engage our identity. And here at the end, it states it gives, relating to the Tao, it gives itself up continually. That is why it endures. Giving up of yourself is giving up of your identity. And the thing is this is what you're really going through right now, is you're giving up the old identity that you used to hold on to go on this
Yeah.
journey and to change. And like, I mean, you're wise enough to not like fold to the desires of your daughter who may be threatened by your changing. And so I think
Yes.
that is something that this is relating to. But there's also this line in here: it can't be approached or withdrawn from, benefited or harmed, honored or brought into disgrace. And those are the places that I think are struggle for you. Because like when things become overwhelming, or when you feel like you're not a good mother, when you feel like you're not a good grandmother, when you feel like you're abandoning, or when you're being told that you're doing that and that comes up, you feel disgrace and you feel those things. And I think taking that step into a place where, okay, well, how can I live in a way that I'm not able to be brought into disgrace? We also have to recognize that you cannot be brought into a space of being honored.
Yeah.
And you did talk about your daughter being proud of you. And so
Yeah.
because you embrace this idea of she is proud of you, you are also going to find the opposite is true.
Yeah.
Because one cannot exist without the other.
Correct. Two sides of the same coin, always,
That's
with
right.
all things.
Always. 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 Okay,
Yeah.
so let's start at the beginning. And I love the way this one starts. Those who know don't talk, those who talk don't know.
Lovely.
It's always great to hear people like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I talk a lot.
So
But
do I.
I but but um but I don't think I try to talk in a way that is telling anybody what to do, or telling anybody where they're right or wrong, or anything like that. And I think
From
that's
from a different level to someone else, as if you are all knowing.
right.
That is key. You talk to people on a level, on the same level, in a
Well,
way that they
yeah.
can.
No,
Yeah.
I don't know that that's actually true. I may. Like
You do.
I think a lot of people, what my intent is when I talk to people is talk to them
Yeah.
where I'm at. And
Yeah.
I don't talk to them because if I assumed I knew where you were and I could get there, that would immediately put me in a position of looking down on you. Because if I were to
Yeah.
step up to the Dalai Lama and say, "Well, let me talk to you where you're at," I wouldn't be able to do it because he's the motherfucking Dalai Lama, right? Like,
He also looks like my grandmother.
does he?
I'd let you know.
Wow, that's awesome. It's always good to see a recognizable face in high spiritual society.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's his
Um,
eyes. His eyes are like my grandmother's, which is always
oh,
lovely. So
well,
she was a
like
lovely one.
that's interesting. I want to take a break really here quick and just mention that, like, grandmother's eyes
Yeah,
being like the Dalai Lama's. Like, the Dalai
yeah,
Lama is wise, the Dalai Lama is caring, the Dalai Lama is love. Like, Like
And fair and
that,
just.
yeah. And that's a grandmother who's been through it, right? Like your grandmother must have lived through the war, is my guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did. She was a no nonsense sort of lady.
Damn
You
right she
know,
was.
you couldn't bleat at her about anything. You can go, oh, poor me, because she wouldn't have that. She'd say, no, I don't want to hear about that. I want to hear about what you are planning to do. I want to hear good things. I want to hear positive stuff. Don't bleat and feel bad about stuff. That's
Yeah,
a
don't go
waste.
whinging at me. Like
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, don't whinge at me because that's a waste of time. That's a waste of your time. She taught me that, really. So yeah, she was just fair and just, and everything was definitely in the present, definitely the now with
Yeah.
her. Yeah, which is great.
That's
And
great. And that's beautiful because like you're saying, like she would just be like, don't tell me that, tell me this. And that's like she is not trying to because she knows. She's not talking. She's just telling you, hey, this is where it's at. And I want you to know as well. But the only way you're going to know is by doing, by
yeah,
being here present with yourself right now.
that's exactly it. That's exactly what she was like. So yeah.
And this is what your grandma would say. Close your mouth.
Yeah.
Block your senses. Blunt your sharpness.
Exactly.
Untie your knots, soften your glare, and settle your dust. This is the primal identity. And so like I said, I wanted to break this down really quick into the opposites. Close your mouth would be, yeah, just like say whatever you want. Block off your senses. Hey, check out your senses. Look to everything in the world and fill your senses with stuff. Blunt your sharpness. Go get all of the education that you can. Get everything. Be sharp, be witty, be the life of the party that knows everything. Untie your knots is like get yourself all tied up with politics. Get yourself all tied up with buying stuff. Get yourself all like round up with tension in your job and make sure that you're all stressed out.
Busy,
Yeah,
busy, busy,
busy.
busy.
Yeah. What was that? I was reading something. No, I wasn't. Was I? I don't recall where I was reading the Tao of Pooh
Yeah.
of all things, and the
Oh,
Tao of Pooh talks about um like busybodies. And that's what this relates to. It's like they had a name for them. I can't recall what it was. Soften your glare, meaning like the opposite of that is focus on things, focus on other people, focus on like with your grandma, like you were whinging at some bullshit that was going on in your life. You're focused on something. Soften your glare. Get a broader general view of things.
yeah,
Settle your dust, meaning keep moving about, keep being busy. So the opposite of all these are about like everything that like we've that we don't want in our lives.
yeah,
And it says here, close your mouth, block off your senses, blunt your sharpness, untie your knots, soften your glare, settle your dust. And when I utilize those phrases, I kind of lose track of what that all means. But just having broken it down, it's like, yeah, take a broader general view of things. Don't get caught up in this moment, just like your grandma would say.
yeah. She was
Be
cool.
Yeah, I bet she was, man. What was her
She was
name?
great. Yeah. Muriel.
Muriel. Muriel.
Yeah.
Since you've left town, the club's closed down. I don't know if you know that song. It's a song by Tom Waits. It's a
I'm going to look it up later.
Yeah, Muriel by Tom Waits. It's a beautiful little ballad. And there's this line in there that says, "And there's one more burned out lamppost on Main Street." And it's like it's so just feeling. It's beautiful. Muriel's such a beautiful name. All right, so this is for you, Muriel. Be like the Tao. It can't be approached or withdrawn from, benefited or harmed, honored or brought to disgrace.
Be like the Tao. I like that. It's calming as well. And it's good not to focus too sharp on just the one thing, because if you sharpen your focus on one thing or two things, you're not seeing everything else. So
Right.
if you are sharpening your focus on one thing, your vision will block out everything else, and you can't see. You have no perception because no depth of perception, nothing, because you won't see anything other. And if you blunt your focus, you see so much more.
Yeah.
You have a wider view, definitely. You have a wider view, which
You
is
know,
helpful.
in my workship, I talk to people all the time about this idea of being triggered, and if you think about the last time you were triggered, by your daughter, or if anybody's listening, if you were triggered by something in your life and made upset, you go from having this kind of broad perspective
Yeah,
and just having a conversation, and then as soon as they say the thing that causes you to get triggered, you put blinders on, and all of a sudden everything gets focused on one thing. Like all of these things get get
I
thrown out
get,
the window, right? All
I
of
get,
these things.
I get exactly what. Yeah,
Yeah, you can
I get
feel those
exactly what
blinders
you're saying.
go on,
Yeah,
and then you get those knots in your stomach. Like your sharpness starts to get really sharp. Your senses start to get heightened. You start to speak because you're trying to defend yourself.
yeah,
As soon as you get triggered, all of this happens. But be like the Tao. It can't be approached or withdrawn from, benefited or harmed. You can't be benefited or harmed. You can't be honored
yeah,
or brought into disgrace. You are broad and open.
yeah. That's the best way. It's
Yeah.
an absolute gem. That is an absolute gem.
It gives
Yeah,
itself up continually. That is why it endures. Like you don't, like with your daughter asking you to do things before you head off on your trip, like, you know, you might have to give up.
they will.
What's that?
Yeah, they will come fast and furious. The closer that the start of the trip becomes, the more she's going to try and involve me in doing different things and making different promises. But I
Yeah.
will just tell her the date of the trip, and the things that I need to do. It's not defending; it's putting her in the picture. That's
Yeah.
how it is, and I can do that in a nice way. I don't have to be sharp about it. I don't have to be I don't have to be conflicting with her. I can
Right.
join her in with it,
Yeah. And there's a,
i.e., meet me along the way,
yeah.
and join her into it. That's the key, I think.
There's this interesting, and I know you're going to cut out in a second, but I'm going to finish speaking about this. If you have anything to reply, definitely come back on. It gives itself up continually. That's why it endures. When I hear that, and I hear your situation, what I think of is, one, you give up your old identity. That is the first thing. The second thing is you give up your identity of being a good mother, like as seen by your daughter, right? Like
Yeah,
you can't allow yourself to be seen as a good mother defined by your daughter. You have to know that intrinsically, so you have to give that part of yourself up
yes,
so that you can stand strong in your decisions. And then you also have to, you know give up the idea that um, she is going to support this.
yes,
And that's all
yeah,
your perception. All of that is part of you. That's part of your identity. And by giving yourself up continually and repeatedly from one person to the next person to the next experience to the next, you will be able to
yeah,
endure, meaning you're going to be able to live your life. You're going to, like, I always like to look at this as a thing where it's like, if you live your life without that conflict, if you live your life and constantly ask yourself these questions, what am I identifying with? How am I identifying? You will lose years off your life. You will drop your addictions. You will drop your pacifiers. You will drop these things because you're recognizing that those identities are not identities that serve the identity that you are, which is this endless, all knowing Tao.
yeah.
Which brings up a question for me. How's your online gambling going?
It's all right. I am actually relaxing with it now.
Good, good.
As in, it doesn't drive me. I don't have to return to it. I can take it or leave it now, which is
Beautiful.
much, much better. Yeah,
Yeah. And
feel
that
better about that.
and that comes, with, and as that settles in, I think I've said this to you before, you're going to do it until you don't.
That's right. That's right.
And that can just give you enough freedom to not judge it, just little by little. You might not, you might still judge it a little bit. I mean, I hear a little judgment in there,
Yeah,
but
a little.
but it's not, it's definitely not tinged with the depth of shame that you had 3 weeks ago.
I feel better because I can take it or leave it.
Yeah.
That is it. Just exactly that. I'm not going to pin anything on it. I'm not going
Right.
to say it's terrible that I do it. I'm not going to say it's awful when I don't. I'm just going to take it or leave it. And then, with time and the fact that I won't have chargers to charge my phones and things to play on it, it will it will disappear because I'm going to
That's right.
start valuing it in charging and battery time. I'm like, well, I can't do that because I'm miles away from anywhere with just a solar panel. I'm not going to be able to use all my solar panel to play that. I'm going to need that to be in contact with people. So it's just a case of, I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's
I think
great. I
that's
mean, maybe
exactly
not, but
what's
that's
going
fine
to
as
happen.
well.
I'll let you know if I win loads of money. No, I'm joking. It will disappear. But
Well, I think that I think like just the fact that you're going to be on the road and your life is going to change so dramatically overnight,
yeah,
and you're going to be meeting so many people. You're not going to need to be in contact. I mean, you're going to want to be in contact with your daughter and your grandkids and other things like
yeah,
that. But I think that I think there's going to be plenty for you to explore on the road.
yeah, one-to-one experience.
Yep.
It's what, yeah, and just doing the basics like making sure I'm warm and dry and eating, and I think that's going to use a lot of my time, which is going to be
Yeah.
good. I'm going to enjoy
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. Oh man, I'm so
It,
excited for you.
yeah, I'm well excited as well.
Good, good. And I think, it's
But
interesting that all of this wisdom stuff is kind of happening right at the same time that this is all happening. Like, I think
I know I
I
said
think,
that.
there's, you're being held really closely.
I think so.
Yeah.
I do believe that as well. I can't believe how wonderfully things have occurred around me.
Yeah.
That's
That's
all I can
beautiful.
say.
Yeah, no,
Eternally
it's
have
just,
gratitude for it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is, you are, like, everything showed up just as it needed to. I'm so happy. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
it
Well,
did.
thank
It
you
did.
for 56.
You're welcome. Thank
I
you,
really appreciate
56.
it. And send my best to Millie.
I will do.
Yeah.
You made a massive impact. She so enjoyed that. It was
Oh, good.
great. It's her face. It told me, and I didn't even have to say anything. It was
Yeah,
wonderful. It's lovely.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. I would there is I would love to be able to, send her a copy of the Tao.
I will organise that for you
Yeah, please do. Please do.
because I think she would make good use of it as well.
Yeah.
And
And
it,
they definitely, let me know, cuz
I hope
I
your
would.
ears were burning because today, can I just quickly say this to you
Please, yeah.
before I went to have my poor old Peggy Peugeot. She's sort of quite a loud old jalopy, car.
Yeah.
And she was due her MOT today, so I took her up to the local garage, thinking things aren't going to go so well. I'm going to have a bit of a bill here. What am I going to do? I'm on a bicycle for 6 months. Do I just hand her over and just forget about it, or what?
Mhm.
What happened? Passed the MOT. But whilst I was there, I was talking to the lady that was the receptionist, sort of secretary, and she was chatting to me about her life, and she'd had a bereavement recently, and she was saying that she'd written a book Her husband died of a rare form of motor neurone disease. And she was telling me about how they used levity a lot to get through, because he only lived for 6 months after his diagnosis, which was really harsh. She was telling me about how they coped with things, and that they did this thing with numbers. So they wrote questions down that, they'd ask him. They'd open the book every day, and they'd say a number, much like the Tao of the Day.
Yeah.
And they'd read a question. And I said, please look up Tao of the Day. So you never know. She
No,
may well be featuring on here with you.
that
You
would be
might be chatting to her
wonderful.
one day.
I would
So
love
I
that.
passed it on.
Yes. I was just thinking,
Yeah.
like the work that I'm doing here on wisdom, I think is really beautiful, because I think people are really finally understanding like the messages that I have, and it's really been hard for me to, because the message isn't easy to grasp. Even the Tao says like, like
Yeah,
in one of the Taos, it says, like, this is easy, but ain't nobody get it. Like,
exactly. The
you know.
thing about you passing this on is you tend to help, by giving a different aspect and reading it and going through it line by line. That is a gift that you've got there. Absolutely. And it's so helped me. Why am I not going to pass this gift to somebody else?
Oh, I
That
appreciate
is all I've
that.
got to say about it. Yeah,
Oh,
you absolutely rock at doing this. So thanks
oh, thank
massively from
you.
me, because
Absolutely.
you've made my journey easier, Martin John.
Well, that is the job of each and every one of us. Like, just to pass it on,
Yeah,
just to keep making the journey a little easier. I want to make the journey easier.
you have already, and I'm sure you will
Oh,
again before I go.
well, thank you so much. All right,
Take
love you. I'm
oh,
switching you out. Gina,
okay.
my
Take
buddy
care.
Gina.
Take care.
Have a good one. My buddy Gina. I was on with Gina. We talked. She's such a great promoter of mine. I had no idea. It did so good yesterday. How you doing, love?
Hey, good morning, Martin John.
Good morning. Good morning. Oh, I love coming on late. I don't because I get all my buddies on. When I come on early, I'm always on here alone and stuff. But when I'm on late, I get to hang out with all my buddies.
Well, I'm attended a clubhouse this morning, and so I didn't know what time you came on, but when I got on and saw that you were here, I was like, you know what? Yes, I've been wanting to join in on. I've listened, but I haven't ever come up on, your morning talk, and so I wanted to do
Wait
that.
a minute, you've never picked a number?
No.
Oh my God, you have to pick a number. Like,
I well, this was yes, and this is the thing that my favorite number is 11, but I just was like this when I was waiting. I thought, you know what? That's a number that I kind of had thought because it's just my favorite number. But then I just flipped through this book. I thought, whatever number I open this to is what it's going to be. And the funny thing is, it was a number that anyway, I was surprised, happily surprised. I was like, oh my gosh, okay. And the number is 27.
tell me about 27. What's going on?
Okay. Well, my
Yeah.
birthday is 6/27, June 27th. And
You
I,
so my birthday is June 30.
oh, it is.
Yeah.
So we're cancers.
We are the emotional cancer.
Yeah. And so my whole life, I have seen 1111 since I've been a child and had no idea what that had meant. And when I was young, it kind of made me a little nervous because I was like, why do I always see that? And I didn't understand it. And then I remember going into like a Borders bookstore and looking it up. And then it just started bringing me so much comfort. But then I just, in the last year, I would say, I have just seen 627, the time, like
Mm-hmm.
627, over and over and over and over. And I'm like, gosh, I know that's my birthday, but there must be more to it. And so today, when I was like, I'm going to just open this book up and whatever page it's on, that's what I'm going. It was the 27th. And so I thought,
Beautiful.
that's what I want to look into.
All right, so here we go. A good traveler has no fixed plans and is not intent upon arriving. A good artist lets his intuition lead him wherever it wants. A good scientist has freed himself of concepts and keeps his mind open to what is. Thus, the master is available to all people and doesn't reject anyone. He is ready to use all situations and doesn't waste anything. This is called embodying the light. What is a good man but a bad man's treasure? What is a bad man but a good man's job? If you don't understand this, you will get lost, however intelligent you are. It is the great secret. Thoughts?
Wow, that's a lot.
It is, and we'll go
And
through it.
I'm just taking it in.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
okay, well
but
let's go to the beginning, and we'll,
Okay.
like, this is where, we just kind of like look at these as sections. So a good traveler has no fixed plans and is not intent upon arriving. Pretty
Yeah.
simple. Let's just be here present in the journey.
Yeah.
Just go with where you're going. And this is what we experience in life, right?
Yeah.
Like, how many of us are intent on dying? Because that is the finish line, right? like,
Right.
that is the finish line. But so many of us, like, make little finish lines along the way. Like when I buy a house, when I get a car, and
Yes.
we try and create these things. But really, like, just be here because the real destination is your death. Can you be here right now without being intent upon arriving?
Yeah.
And understanding that big picture of, like, wow, we're living essentially to die. It's kind of like I'm going on vacation, but going to come home eventually anyway. So why don't I just stay home? No, that's not the point of vacation, right?
Right.
Like the final destination is not the point. It is that you have no fixed plans. You
Hmm.
are just, you are just traveling. A good artist lets his intuition lead wherever he wants. And this is, as an artist, when I painted, it was
Hmm.
all just
Hmm.
like, what is happening through me? What is coming through me?
Yeah.
And even as a healer today, with my portraits and things, like, I allow those portraits to develop rather than me sort of say, oh, I'm gonna do this, like, in a very, very conscious way, right? Instead of doing that, I just let it come up. And they are portraits. They're they look like the people,
Uh-huh.
but in how they look like the people, um and allowing my intuition to put things in there that I might not understand but might relate to my client.
Right. Right. Well, my first thought was I love to travel, and it is a passion of mine. And my favorite thing about it is just being where I am and not having some thought out, planned out. I just want to be there and experience life where I am there. The culture, the people, the art, the beauty, the food, the wine, just really being there and not having this schedule that I feel like I've got to just follow. And some people for travel, it's all about getting, we got to do this and this today, and that's not what makes me enjoy travel. That's for myself. And so really being in the moment, and I find it easier for myself to do that when I am away than I do when I'm at home. Just being in the here and the now and enjoying the journey part of it. It's like I'm thinking about tomorrow or what needs to be, or I'm spend too much time thinking about yesterday, that kind of thing. So that is a good reminder, and just letting things flow, letting things just being present and in the journey itself.
Yeah, and that's
Being
it.
flexible and adaptable, to whatever is happening.
And then also like allowing your intuition and freeing yourself of concepts like this idea that like, oh, this is where everybody goes to, this is where everybody does this thing, so I'm going to do it. Like, I'm going to eat under the Eiffel Tower, right? Like,
Right,
I'm going
right.
to go to the cafe underneath the Eiffel Tower. Like no, like me personally, no interest in
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But if that's where I end up, that's where I end up, right? Not
Mhm.
having the fixed plan to go do that thing. But and that's where this last line in this first section, a good scientist has freed himself from concepts and keeps his mind open to what is. And I think we're seeing that a lot today, as old concepts are getting challenged, and we have to allow those things to be challenged, um, so that we can do good science. Like, I'm not taking any sides with COVID or anything like that. I'm just
Yeah,
saying, like, I think that science has come to a place where it is being challenged, and that's a good thing. And I think scientists, especially, I think I'm thinking mostly about AA and the disease model of addiction.
right.
I don't see addiction as a disease model personally. That doesn't mean if it works for you to see it that way or to understand it that way, I'm supportive of it. But I think challenging that is important, because the old concepts, like one of the reasons that we see it that way is so insurance will cover it.
Yeah,
Because if it's not a disease, then why should insurance cover it? And then no one gets help, and then there's no money in the industry, and all of these sorts of
right.
things. So challenging the concepts that we have, I think, is really important. And to have travelers, artists, and scientists open to what is, allows the universe to allows God to inject things into that, rather than us doubling down on our own intellect, right? Like, allow us to be here within the Tao.
Yeah, I don't typically, like, if you would have just asked me, I wouldn't typically think of a scientist as being someone open minded. So that's a good way for me to think of it. I always just think that they base everything on a mathematic equation. It all has to make sense, and it all has to line up, and it's all built based on knowledge. And so I think of artists as being free flowing and free thinking and open minded, but not scientists so much. So that's a good way for me to
It's
look at that.
interesting. As an artist, I understand scientists and artists are very, 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 very similar.
Wow.
The only difference is that scientists prove other people's questions.
Huh.
Scientists answer other people's or solve other people's problems, and artists solve their own.
Got it.
That's the only difference, because everything that a scientist does
Hmm.
are going to be things that an artist does. But the artist says, what if the problem were this? And then they solve it, whether it's visual or spatial
Hmm.
or emotional or relational. Scientists do the same. Scientists look out at the world and say, this is an unanswered problem that was raised by somebody, and I am going to try and answer it. And so artists and scientists are very, very similar, but
Wow, that's so
there is
interesting to me. I never, ever aligned those two things together in my mind until you just saying it right now.
yeah, yeah. And I, like, I was talking to doctors this summer and telling them how similar we were, and they were like, "You're right." And then I also described the art world and the
Uh-huh.
science world in terms of like how we make a living. Like, we make a living by doing residencies, and artists do residencies and scientists do residencies,
Ah,
and we do research, but artists' research are done alone for the most part.
right.
Scientist research are done with teams of people trying to answer the singular question.
Yeah.
So it's and it's very often that an artist will not know the question they're answering. But I
Hmm.
think scientists do the same thing. They try and there's abstraction in the science. And actually, if you read any science paper, it starts with an abstract, which is interesting to me, because one time someone said, all of the answers are in the abstract. And I said, exactly. But I was thinking they're in the abstract, meaning like it's abstracted. But what they were saying was, no, no, no. It's written in the part of the paper that is called the abstract. And I was blown away that something was like called the abstract. And
I
then the
didn't.
phrase was like, yeah, all of the answers are in the abstract. And I was like, exactly. That's why you can't explain it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so it
Really
was this really
interesting.
funny little like exchange.
Mm.
So yeah, and I know you only got 2 minutes left, and we won't get through all of this, but come back on so we can, if you have the time.
Sure, sure.
Thus, the master is available to all people and doesn't reject anyone. He is ready to use all situations and doesn't waste anything. This is called embodying the light.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. That's how we should be. That's how I want to be, open to all things. Um, I think it's only by taking in all that everyone else is sharing with you that, I mean, the lights get turned on more and more. And then so many things that you and I have talked about in our last few conversations have really shed a lot of light for me. So that makes sense.
I like that this section starts with thus. So we start by taking in the first section, which is not having fixed plans as a traveler,
Hmm.
allowing our intuition as an artist, and freeing ourselves from concepts as a scientist. So freeing ourselves from concepts of all sorts of stuff, social science or anything like the concept or expectations that we have, we free ourselves from that. So because we do those things, we as masters are available to all people and don't reject anyone. So if someone has a concept that we don't agree with, we won't reject them. We'll listen.
Right.
If someone is going or planning something, we won't dismiss it. Maybe we'll go along, or maybe we'll
Hmm.
refuse to
Hmm.
go. If someone else has intuition, we allow that to exist because we want our intuition to be aligned and allowed. And there you go. Come on back up when you can, if you can. And here we are. Gina's coming back so we can finish this. I love that these are taking a little longer than 15 minutes. I hope everybody's cool with that. um, he is ready to use all situations and doesn't waste anything. That's a big part of my work because I talk so much to people about their triggers and things that
Hmm.
get you upset. Like you are using today a relationship that ended 30 years ago
Hmm.
to help you grow today.
Yes.
And and I mean, maybe you're not using it. You're using this moment to heal from something that existed that came into light probably over 30 years ago, but you have been growing from, and you use all situations and don't waste anything, even if it's something that hurts. We don't want to just throw it in a box. We want to be able to use it, because if it hurts, it probably means something a lot more.
Mm. Yes. Yeah. You're totally right about that. Um, I always think of and have said, in our podcast, we have said, God wastes nothing. Nothing that has happened to us, it should be wasted. I mean, it can be used. What was meant for harm can be turned into good.
That's
What
right.
was, meant for darkness can be brought into the light, and it can be looked at and used to further us in our path. And you're right about that. So I I love the way you look at things and are able to articulate them, Martin John. You have a real
Oh,
gift.
well, thank you. And then this final section says, "What?" See, this is a piece that has in the past tripped me up, and I think I have a concept of what I understand this to be, but I would love to hear your thoughts. What is a good man but a bad man's teacher? What is a bad man but a good man's job?
Would you read it one more time?
Oh, yeah. What is a good man but a bad man's treasure? What is a bad man but a good man's job? Now, I want you to remember what we talked about in the beginning, which is a good traveler, a good
Mm-hmm.
artist, a good
Mm-hmm.
scientist. So these are the places where the words good were referred to. And maybe that might have something to do with what is a good man but a bad man's teacher? What is a bad man but a good man's job? The only other place that I see the word good in here is in those a good traveler has no fixed plans. A good artist is not lets his intuition lead him. A good scientist has freed himself of concepts.
Yeah. A good man is a bad man's teacher. And do I have that correctly? I know that you've read it twice, but a good
Yeah.
man is a,
A good man. What is a good man but a bad man's teacher? What is a
yeah.
bad man but a good man's job?
And then I am just thinking that a good man would be willing to share his experiences and not reject a man because they don't think the same or feel the same, or they don't consider them maybe such a good man. So he is the teacher by the way he lives with his thoughts and words and actions. He is teaching the bad man to be what a truly good man is.
Yeah, like teaching through experience or teaching through
Yeah.
like example, just kind of living an
Mm-hmm.
example. That's what I held on to that for a long, long time. And I recently, and I wanted to be able to kind of just, because that I think that's right. I think that is exactly right. I think one of the things that tipped me off on this new way of seeing it is this idea of a good traveler, a good artist, and a good scientist.
Yeah.
Because a good traveler has no fixed plans, which would in start and is not intent upon arriving, which would be, well, then a bad traveler has fixed plans and is intent upon arriving.
Mm-hmm.
A good artist lets his intuition lead him wherever he wants. A bad artist does not. A good scientist has freed himself of concept and keeps his mind open. A bad scientist has not freed himself of concepts and is closed-minded.
Yeah.
So what is a good man but a bad man's teacher? And who are we today? Who are we? We may be someone who travels in a specific way. We may be someone who sciences in a different way, right? We may be someone who creates in a certain way. And when I look at the good and the bad, both of those, in order to have one, the other must exist.
Right.
And so they exist within us. And I think what is a good man but a bad man's teacher isn't that we teach as good men, but we learn as bad men.
Mm-hmm.
Within us we learn,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like this is internal. I think what
Mm-hmm.
this is looking at is like, what is a bad man but a good man's job? It is like that within you, just it gets a drip of what you want, and it gets a drip of that deep knowing within you, and it slowly spreads through your body like healing. It's something that you learn over time. And the thing that kind of tipped me off to this idea that it's singular, and may not be, it may just very well be, like in this concept of like when you live and you are, and that's something that I hold to dearly as well, is this idea that when you live in a place of people seeing you, they can see you, and so you live in a way that is good. But I think good and bad are these concepts.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you don't understand this, you will get lost. If you don't understand this, you will get lost. And that's the thing that really makes this one difficult, because just by saying that, it's scary,
Yeah.
right? Like it puts you in this place of like, whoa, if I don't understand this, I'm going to get lost. I hope I understand this correctly. And I'm constantly like looking at this chapter from a different perspective, because and so I should finish the sentence. If you don't understand this, you will get lost, however intelligent you are. And that is so that's so much unlike the Tao. Like to just be like, hey, we're gonna throw this like monkey wrench in the works
Hmm.
here and
Hmm.
make you question if you know that or not. And then it wraps up by it is the great secret. And I think the great secret wraps up in like it's all within you.
Right.
And I think that's what this is speaking to.
It seems like to me, when it's saying you'll get lost regardless of how intelligent. So it's not about the intelligence part of it. It's more
Right.
about the wisdom part of it.
Yeah.
By what you've learned, what you are learning, not just intelligence, but by experience, by the feeling of it, by understanding. That's what it's saying, to me. You get
Yeah.
lost when you don't follow that internal thing, right? That leads you in the right direction. You get lost when we get distracted by other things.
We get lost when we have fixed plans and we're intent upon arriving.
Right?
We get lost when we don't allow our intuition to lead us
To
where we're
lead
going.
us.
We
Yes.
get lost when we hold on to concepts and keep our minds closed.
Yes. Oh, that's so good.
So good. Goosebumps.
Yeah, yeah.
Goosebumps.
It's really
So
good.
yes. Oh, Gina, I love you. I'm so glad. I'm so glad you got
Oh,
to
me
come on and pick a
too.
number. And I'm so glad that you questioned your moving to 11. A lot of people come on and pick their favorite number and I'm like, feel inside first.
Yes.
Let's see where that's going to go because that's not being intent upon arriving. Right? That's not having
Right.
that preconceived concept. All of that is just being here present with you, because
Yeah.
I am a reflection of you. And so like you being here is
Well, I
I'm able to show that to you.
I what a great, honestly, I really have enjoyed this, and it was very enlightening, and it's gonna give me something to kind of meditate on throughout the day. All That's a lot. Like when I was saying when you read it, and I
Yeah.
love the way that you broke it down and simplified it for me, but it's still a lot to digest.
No, there's a
And
lot here.
yeah, and so I really am going to spend some time with that today. And thank you for taking the
Absolutely.
time to talk to me and to break it down with me and to share that with me. It was very interesting, and I appreciate you very much.
Oh, I do as well for you. And I'm gonna swap you out. I'm got another
Okay.
person. Love you. Have a wonderful day. Okay, we're bringing in. Oh, I didn't catch your name. I think it's not Kelly. Nancy. Nancy, how are you? Is Nancy there?
Of this.
There you are.
Hello.
You love
My
the
phone.
Dow.
My phone. As soon as you brought me up, my phone went just silent.
Oh, your phone was like, nope, we're not doing this. We're not doing this.
Right,
Is
and I'm
too
laughing,
much.
going, did he say somebody's name? Because I'm working.
Oh man, Nancy, how
uh,
are you?
Fine. How are you? I've heard a lot about you from some people, and you
My
showed up.
God,
And
I am my reputation precedes me. This is so nice to know.
well, it's people who actually appreciate connection
Yeah,
that really that can resonate with this. And you mentioned something about not, people not always understanding this, and it's
yeah,
such a different approach. And I went, he's my world.
yeah.
I say that because my approach, there's so much that's coming from me, and my approach has been so different for many, many years. And I've been, and I know you'll understand this, almost dragging people to understand it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work, and I
It's
know
like pulling
that.
teeth. I'm done pulling
Well, not
teeth.
even that. What does it do
Yeah.
to us? It's pulling our teeth.
That's right. That's right. Like we can, we can't handle this anymore. We're just like, you know what?
I
Let's
like
just
my
find our
teeth. Dang
people.
it.
That's right.
Yeah, no, and I, I've listened to Wayne Dyer for many, many years, and how he broke down the Tao was amazing. And I keep seeing this every day, this title come up every day. I didn't know what it was. I didn't even know what it was when I came on. I'm like, what is he talking about? I heard the words.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned something about whatever it was. And I went, oh, it's the Tao, my favorite thing in the world, connection.
Yeah. So what I do, you've seen it, not exactly sure what it is, but I ask you to pick a number between 1 and 81, and then that is your Tao for the day, and we'll read
And
it
you know
and we'll
what?
go
It's
through it
really
line by
funny.
line.
Yeah, what's really funny about that is when you were saying that to somebody, the first number that came to me was 75.
75. Well, let's
I
hit
don't
it.
even know what it is. I tried to get
No,
it out of my head, thinking I was doubting it, and I went, no, I didn't even know
no.
I was going to come on stage. I'm working,
That's
and I'm
right.
like,
That's right.
I got to do this. I got to do this. So I'm really curious of what 75 means to me. This would be
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah. So okay. Well, what it says, it's a pretty short one. So let's see what we get. When taxes are too high, people go hungry. When the government is too intrusive, people lose their spirit. Act for the people's benefit. Trust them. Leave them alone.
Shut up. You didn't hear my question in my head. What are you telling me that for? I'm kidding. I mean, break that down. Talking about the government in our world today.
Well, I also like to, every time I look at this, and this is one thing that I talk about a lot, when we look at the government or when we look at governing people, we also have to look at the body. So when we say when taxes are too high, people go hungry. Well, when the taxes on your body are too high, your body goes hungry. Your body lacks nutrition. When we talk about the government being too intrusive, that could also, and people lose their spirit, that government could be like these subconscious thoughts in your mind that are trying to run the show. And so this is like the Tao always kind of takes like can be addressed from the infinitely large to the infinitely tiny. So when we talk about government, we just talk about like all it is saying is the thing that is governing.
Oh, I knew that. I'm just laughing at and I love how you described it. I'm laughing at the irony of the
Oh
specifics of
yeah.
the word
Yeah.
and words, and because I'm a word person, and how the the energies behind the words, not really the words, and how specific it was in the world today. Um,
Absolutely.
and it's not, just so you know, the government to me is simply people, and
Mhm.
the more power that we give anybody, the more power they receive, whether it's power of negativity or power of positivity. It doesn't matter, we're still giving them power. But
Absolutely.
there's every human being is a pawn within the universe, so it's just part of the flow. So if this is what's happening, then where's our consciousness? I
Oh,
got that.
I
you know
love you.
yeah, and I tell you, you have no idea how much you and I are saying. So what and I will share is that I when the government shut the world down, this is why I'm laughing. My world went upside down. Everything that I thought I was going to be doing said, no, you can't do this anymore. And
Yeah.
I didn't understand it. And I had such an epiphany yesterday because of one beautiful woman in my life. Is I have this project that I'm working with, and I've been doing it for 25 years, or more, and I've been building it. Just doing exactly what's told to me, even though I'm not getting the benefits that allow me to sustain myself to the degree that I believed I was meant to. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Oh yeah. Yeah, it makes
there's
sense.
that. It's an internal conflict, and when I sit there, because I appreciate everything, I appreciate everything that's in front of me, good, bad, or ugly, um, because I always know that the bad and the ugly are to help me get the good, and I just use that as a generality. So when I look at this and I look at the world, and I was talking to this lady last night, and I told her, I said, I'm just having a tough time. I've got to be missing something because it's too hard. There's too much struggle. She goes, I agree with you. And so, for me. And I said, well, I'm not sure what this is. I said, but she says, Nancy, she goes, I look at your project as you. I go, what do you mean? She says, because it's a playground. It's actually an island and a playground. It's totally different concept. And the Tao is the same concept. It's going to take you out of your head. And I said, what are you talking about? I thought the playground was me. She goes, no, the project is you. And I went, oh my God, so the playground is for people to come onto safely in their space. She goes, yes. And I went, okay, I have to digest this.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, with what you just read to me, I've allowed the governing, and that's truly just conditioning,
Hmm.
to get me to stay small.
Yeah.
Because I was told to stay small, and I get that, whatever. And I went, wait a minute. So all I'm gonna do is embrace me and be me, and I don't really need anybody. She goes, no. She goes, community is important to you. She said, but no, you don't. And I went, I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but it's gonna be, it's gonna be right because it feels safer. And
Yeah.
here you just read that. So again, can you read that again?
Yeah,
Now
yeah,
that
yeah.
you just
Well,
shared that.
now that we have like those initial thoughts and those initial things, we'll go through it just line by line. There's
Oh,
the 3
I love
sections
you.
here. Yeah.
Thank you.
So when taxes are too high, people go hungry.
Okay. So taxes, another word for that would be for me in this approach.
Would be for you.
No, in the sense of, do you have another word instead of
For
taxes?
taxes, I would say when let's see, I would probably utilize this as like when you are taxed too
There
much,
you go. Yeah.
right?
So
When you are
when I'm pulling against my natural flow.
right. When
Yeah.
you are, when it takes more work, just like you said, like this is too much work. Like all of that work is tax,
I love that.
right?
Does